Today, let's get into the top 5 strategies for effective communication. You can use this at home, at work, or anywhere you need to communicate. Strategy number 1, let's do this on purpose. A lot of our communication happens inadvertently. In fact, most of what we communicate to other people is not even coming out of our mouth. It's nonverbal, it's tone of voice, it's posture, it's body language. All of that becomes communication. So in this first strategy, we're going to communicate on purpose, become more aware of what we're communicating and how we're communicating it. This also implies that we're going to make some time and space available for the specific purpose of communicating. Think about your primary relationships, for example. How often are you setting aside time specifically for the purpose of clear communication? This is all about becoming more intentional and purposeful about our communication. Let's raise it to a level of conscious awareness that allows us to do some really cool things as we apply these other strategies. Strategy number 2. Be silent. I love that the letters in the word silent are the same as the letters in the word listen. We'll come back to that in just a minute. But silence implies quieting the noise. For me, noise represents anything that gets in the way of a communication. Think about the basic model of communication where there is a sender and a receiver. The sender originates the message and sends it over to the receiver. The receiver receives it. In between the sender and the receiver is a whole bunch of noise. It might be physical noise like a jackhammer, a truck rolling by, a train blowing its whistle, or it could be mental noise. You hear the voices in your head? That's part of what causes the noise. Also our experience, our culture, our gender, anything that affects how we either send a message or receive that message, how we perceive our world, can become noise. And I don't think we can get rid of all of it. So the strategy is to be silent, calm the noise, and if you can't get rid of the noise, at least be aware of it so you can start working around some of it. Our third strategy today is to be present. You ever been talking to someone and the lights are on but nobody's home? You've had that experience too, haven't you? Let's not be that person where, yeah, I'm looking at you, but my thoughts are totally somewhere else. I'm working on this problem over here. Oh, what? What did you say? It's so annoying to not be fully present. You know, one of the definitions of the word present in the English language is gift. And it is a gift for you to be fully present when you're communicating with your spouse, with your kids, with your coworkers, with a client or a prospect. Be present. Be there. This kind of bleeds over from number 2, which is to be silent and quiet the noise. Some of that noise in your head, if you can just picture taking the things that are going on in your mind, and there's important stuff in there, okay? I'm going to give you that. But take that and sit it on a shelf for a minute. Just put it over here. You'll get back to it. Don't let that become the noise. Be present. Be right here. Present means here, it means now, it means gift. Be present. Be there in the communication. And give indicators that you are. Track them. Use some eye contact. Nod or acknowledge what they're saying. Give the little responses that show that you're present. That's powerful. For our last 2 strategies, we're going to get very practical. Strategy number 4 is listen to understand. I commented earlier that the letters in the word silent are exactly the same as the ones in the word listen, which is kind of cool because listen to understand puts you in a position where you are seeking first to understand that other person. This is a little counterintuitive, and it's hard for a lot of people to do, because honestly, what we want to do in a communication typically is get our point across. We want to be understood. And that's awesome. I'm not going to leave you hanging on that because we got one more strategy. Let's put it in order. For you to become the listener first, put you in a position to have very effective communication. Even though your point is so important, I think if you jump in and try to get your point across first, you're going to come up against some resistance. Have you experienced this in the past? So here's a little technique to go with this strategy. And I promise you're going to get some really great results from this. Postpone your need to be understood until the person with whom you're communicating is completely satisfied that you understand their position. Think about how that could play out in a marriage. I have people pay me lots of dollars to sit on my couch and have me coach them through communication. When they understand this strategy, everything changes. I know you want to get your point across. Remember that shelf over there? Just put that on a shelf. Because here's the thing. If you try to push this point across first, you'll meet with resistance. And your point is not received. So let's just keep it on a shelf over here for just a minute for safekeeping. And while it's on the shelf, I'm coming back and I'm going to be fully present. I'm going to be silent and I'm going to listen to understand. My whole goal right now is to make sure I understand where you're coming from. And if I can reflect back to you my understanding and you recognize it as what you actually said, then we're in position to pull that off of the shelf and go to the next strategy. Here's the last one, the one you've been waiting for, because now you get to go get your point off of that shelf. And remember how important that point is and how right you are. Notice that too, okay? Because that gets into the noise thing when we know that we're right. But you kind of do, because this point is so important. And so you bring it off of the shelf. Now it's time to express, to be understood. Let me comment about a few of the words that I just said. Expression is when you become the sender and that other person becomes the receiver. So now the message is traveling from you over to that person. When you're expressing yourself and your point, your goal is understanding. Notice I didn't say express to persuade or to convince or to beat something into someone's noggin. No, you'll get the resistance and the defensiveness if you do that. Can you see that? So your goal is not that. It is simply to be understood. So you want to encode that message in the kind of language that that person's going to understand. Remember we talked about being conscious and present and purposeful about all of this? So your body language and your facial expressions and your tone of voice are all designed to help this message that is so important and valuable. That's why we were holding it on a shelf. That message can get across in the way that it needs to the receiver. And they will really understand what that message is. We've saved this strategy for last, strategically. Because listening to understand puts you in a position where it's more likely that your point will now be received by the other person. It works really well. And I want you to be able to try that. Let me know how it goes for you. Put some comments down below or interact with me at Live on Purpose Central, where we can have more discussions about this as we move forward. Good luck with your communication. Those 5 strategies should really help. And if you want more help, please join us at Live on Purpose Central. We've got resources available for you there that are going to power up your communication game. Go.liveonpurposecentral.com. The link is in the description. I'll see you inside.
In the street alone. Her head was down, face locked onto the phone.